Hi guys, this is Kaufhold with another video, and today I am here to talk to you about the Acu Archery S.O.S. I know I've gotten a lot of questions on this, especially after Vegas. That was the first tournament that I shot with it on my bow, and so people are like, "Oh, like what is that?" It's definitely something new to the game of archery. So I'm here to tell you a little bit about my experience with it so far. So Acu Archery S.O.S. S.O.S stands for Stability Optimization System. Long story short, this thing is just a super adjustable dampener. So it has this main mount here. It has a few different little tools where you can put it on different parts of your bow. I, as a recurve, have mine just on my front bar pointing back towards the bow. So this mount can go pretty much anywhere you like it, and then it comes with a few different sort of springs here. There's one that has 4 stiff springs and one that has 2 stiff and 2 light. And so these connect into this here. They pretty much twist in. And then you can put up to 8 ounces on the back of this. So definitely adds weight to your bow, super customizable. There's 2 1-ounce weights, 2 3-ounce weights, and then an end cap that I believe is a 1/4 of an ounce. So again, super customizable. You can really set it up for your best sight movement, for your best tune, whatever you're looking to improve in your shot. So we'll get into some details here. The 2 different sets of springs. The two, right? There's 2 stiff, 2 light on one, 4 stiff on the other. And pretty much the purpose of these is, again, it really depends on your shot, what you're seeing in your sight movement and such. But the one with all stiff wires here is made to help overall pin movement, right? If you're seeing like just a large float, this one is more so made to give you an even smaller float, right? But still have consistency in that it's not darting off to one side or the other, but it's going to be a consistent smaller float. The one with 2 stiff and 2 light is more so made to adjust if you're noticing a singular movement, if that makes sense. So like if you're noticing like, oh, like I'm dipping, then the two stiff, too soft will help directional movement, where it's not so much like, oh, I'm just floating big. It's, oh, I'm noticing I'm dipping or I'm darting to the left or to the right. And that'll control. So you can either have it this way, the other way, whatever you see is best for your pin movement. Now, this is something that there is no right or wrong answer to. It is something that you can really just take time and figure out what you like best about it. I can go over my setup a little bit. During Vegas, I was shooting this pretty much exact setup, just a not quite a production one, so it wasn't anodized, but it's just silver, but the whole thing is exactly the same. I shot with this mount here with the standard angle, so this angle can also be changed. So if you want to have it be lower, higher, however you like, you can change that angle there. I just kept it how it was, and I shot with the 2 stiff, 2 light, and I noticed a lot of difference in my pin movement. I am somebody who I would drop low. Like if I was to hold a little bit too long and it'd start to get weak in my bow side, especially, like I would notice my pin start to drop low. Whereas when I put this on, I noticed my pin was a lot steadier and it was a lot smaller movements, like slower and smaller is how I would best describe it. And for me, that just allowed me to be a lot more comfortable when I was aiming and not have to worry about like, oh, trying to keep the pin in the middle. The pin would kind of just do its thing, and I'd be a lot more relaxed and able to focus on just staring at the middle and moving through my shot rather than trying to keep the pin in the center. That's the biggest thing I saw with my setup. So I had it mounted on my front bar, pointed back towards the bow with the 2 different sets of springs, and then I put an ounce in the end cap on mine, so pretty light. When I put this on, I ended up taking 2 ounces off of each of my back bars just because it did add some weight, right? And so having this plus what I originally had on my bars felt a little bit too heavy. So I took 2 ounces off of each sidebar and felt like it was a really good mix. Like the bow didn't feel too heavy. It was sitting really nice. It felt good and follow through. It didn't feel like it was too front heavy or too back heavy. It felt all very, very balanced. I kept this very much so centered. I've seen compound archers put it on the sidebar. Now that'll have like a little bit of a different effect in your weight distribution and how your sight movement is. But for me, I really liked it on my front bar, pointed back towards the bow. I'll put some videos in, some pictures showing how that looks. Um, and honestly, the biggest thing I noticed was just that my sight movement was so much slower and so much smaller. Like I had definitely had times where I'd be like bobbing. And so it'd be consistent, but I'd be like, I don't like looking at this. I want to look at something that's still, right? Um, it's a lot less distracting when you're trying to aim at the center, obviously. So that was my biggest thing. I didn't notice a big change in my tune at all. I've heard from some other archers who've tried and noticed that their tune changed a little bit. For me personally, I didn't notice a difference in my tune. The biggest difference for me was just how I felt in my shot. I felt a lot steadier, felt a lot more stable. I'm somebody who, when I'm nervous, I physically shake. And so going from shooting without this to shooting with it, I felt like my shakes were a lot more, even though I physically was shaking in my sight, I didn't see it as much. And I, even when I wasn't nervous, saw a lot less movement. And so personally, that is the biggest difference I saw. Now, this is something that is so extremely customizable that you can really do anything you want with it, right? If you like a more front heavy setup, maybe putting it out further on your bar. If you like something more back heavy, you could put it on one or the other back bar if you're shooting compound, right? Just the one back bar. Or they're now coming out with a smaller one that can screw into right under your grip. So I'll put some clips in there of that model. So that's something that if you like maybe a little bit more of a back heavy bow, or if you notice that helps your sight movement better, that's something to try as well. But something, just what I like about this the most is how many different options it has. It's really endless, from the different angles that you can use, the different springs, the different weights, where you could put it on your bow. There's just so many options. And so I think that's where Acu is really coming into the game and trying to give something that is, going to make a difference for every archer, no matter what style of shot you shoot, no matter what bow you shoot, no matter what you're seeing in your sight movement. It is something that is going to help you and change it. So that has been my experience so far with the Acu Archery S.O.S. I would like to get into Vegas a little bit. So, right, Vegas is the first event I shot this with, and I definitely had a lot of people asking questions, right? It's something very new. Not a lot of people have seen it yet. And so post-event now, looking back on it being my first event with this, I think it helped me instrumentally. Like I talked before, I am somebody who I shake when I am under pressure. So being on the stage, right, I shot 2 different matches on the stage. I shot a shoot off for first place for the Vegas shoot, and then did the gold medal match for the World Indoor Series final. And during both of those, right, like I'm on the stage, there's like, I think there were 5,000 people in the crowd, huge crowd. The lights, cameras, you're just you and your opponent up there on the stage. That's a lot of pressure, right? And obviously it being for a win. And I was up there, right? I was nervous naturally. And seeing my sight difference with this on and during those matches versus how I've seen it before during those similar circumstances, I was shaking, obviously, shaking a lot. But I noticed my sight did not leave the 10, which is something huge for me. Like I shot an event earlier this year in Chicago. I was on track for a world record. I was really nervous in the last end, was shaking a lot, and my sight was moving left 8 to right 8. That's just how my nerves come out. It comes out in shakes, and so I was moving quite a bit. Whereas this time around, I was only moving left 10 to right 10. So to go from movement of left 8 to right 8 under nerves to left 10 to right 10, that's a huge difference. And so that's where I really noticed, like, in my, not even just, of course it's helping when I'm not nervous. Like I see a difference in practice, but the biggest change for me was under pressure. How can this help me, right? Because in a competition, you're always going to be under pressure. And so the biggest difference there for me is just the how much it minimizes shakes. And that was super helpful for me. I think a big part of why I shot well in Vegas was because of this. Like obviously I've had, success before, but this was something that I noticed like, okay, like this can bring me a step up. And so that's why I'm choosing to use this awesome dampener. And so moving forward, I plan to use it for the outdoor season. I have my outdoor bow set up with it on, very similar to how I set up my indoor bow. Still on the front bar, everything like that, same weights. And the only thing I changed from my indoor setup to my outdoor setup with the S.O.S was I changed to the 4 stiff springs. Now the reason I did this was because in the wind, right? We have wind outside. My only worry was like, okay, like in the wind, is this gonna create extra movement because it's not static, right? Like it has some movement to it. But I noticed that this was able to control the wind a lot better with the 4 springs, just the 4 stiff springs for me personally, rather than the 2 stiff and the 2 soft. But I'm looking to still do some experimenting with it. On my backup bow for outdoors, I have the smaller one that just screws in under the grip. And so right now I'm just experimenting with that. I have a little bit more weight on that one. Just seeing what it does, how it reacts to the wind differently, how I see my sight movement at 70 different than I see it at indoors, right? Because the sight picture is a little bit different. So still experimenting, right? There's so many things to change, but moving forward, right now I'm planning on, for my main setup, having that the the big mount here on my front bar pointed back towards the bow, 4 stiff springs, and 1.25 ounces. So that is what I'm looking at going into the rest of the season. But I wanted to get on here and give y'all an overview of this because I know it is so new, and as somebody who shot with it and I feel like I did well with it, I wanted to share my experience there. So Acu Archery S.O.S. Super customizable dampener, and super excited to see y'all out there using one. I'm going to put a link in the description of where you can buy this from Lancaster Archery Supply. I definitely encourage you guys to give it a try. I think it's one of the new hot things out there, and I think it's going to go far for sure. So I know that was a lot of information. I know this is all very new, so let me know if you guys have any questions. Just drop them in the comment section, and I will catch you guys next time for my next video.